Imagine getting a piece of paper stating you have to move from your family and friends to a new and unfamiliar place. Imagine saying goodbye to your husband or wife, your son or daughter, your father and mother, and not knowing when or if you'll get to hear from or see them again. Unsure of what to expect and clueless on how to explain the absences to yourself, let alone your children. Imagine having to do this multiple times, never knowing when he or she will get orders to go across the world again, and never knowing if he or she will return to you as they did the day that they left. This is what it's like to live in the life of a military family. We appear to be just like you when we drive off the installation and into the civilian world. We go to work Monday through Friday like most of you, and our daughter is active in her academics and extracurricular activities. We're on the sidelines cheering her on as any parent, but the parents in these stands and the children on these fields know that the person next to them will be leaving soon if they aren't already in the process of doing so. More than half of active duty soldiers have family responsibilities, which means that they have a spouse and at least one child dependent. 51% of spouses that have recently experienced deployments were separated for 12 months or longer. And most of those soldiers were deployed to combat zones such as Iraq or Afghanistan. Can you imagine going that long without your husband or your father? Even though military families are similar to civilian families, there are frequent moves, long stressful deployments, and the threat of losing a loved one for the sake of the country's freedom that civilians are unaware of. Because of this, military families are resilient, to say the least. But that doesn't mean that we are invulnerable. Today, I would like to speak to you about two major factors that create the lifestyle of a military family. It's moving and deploying. Military families move 10 times more often than civilian families, which means that of the 2 million military connected children, over 500,000 change schools each year. My daughter is no exception. She falls into this category as well. She has attended 3 schools in 3 years. The cycle of packing, unpacking, loading, and unloading is never a fun process for anyone. Some militaries don't even get the opportunity to go through those stages. They're instead forced to get rid of their belongings because either there's not enough time or space in their new housing unit. In less than 2 years, we've moved once, and in less than 2 weeks, we're moving again. We are the fortunate ones. In 6 months, I've had 2 different families move in and out at the unit next to us, and both had infant children, not enough time to make friends, and a brief moment to create any memories. While frequent moves, long absences and other stresses are common for military families, the deployment of a parent or spouse presents an immeasurable challenge. Military families face a number of challenges before, after, and during deployments. And as soon as the emotional roller coaster comes to an end, there is usually a notice for yet another deployment or another move. The American Psychological Association says, for the parent that stays home, which is typically the mom, increased family responsibilities, financial issues, isolation, fear of our spouse's safety can cause anxiety, sadness, loneliness. We've gone through 2 combat zone deployments in 2 years. One was 9 months and one was 4 months. And as prepared as I thought I was, I had no clue what to expect. And each deployment, despite the time frame, was the loneliest part of my life. My best friend was gone, and I was left just waiting. No matter how awful I felt, I had to put on a smile for my daughter. A study called Children on the Home Front found that military children had more emotional difficulties compared with national samples. And I like to think that my daughter is an exception to this. She struggled too. She watched her teachers, coaches, troop leaders, and all of her friends come and go. And while I'm at home worrying about my husband, her teachers were at school doing the same. She sees it, as all children do, but is expected to keep going through the motions, as am I, and every person on post. Being a part of a military family isn't easy. It takes courage, hope, resiliency, and strength. We appear to be like any other family, but it takes more to hold us together for the sake of our families and the country. We brace ourselves for the many moves, the new faces, the scary deployments, and what I imagine is the day we become a civilian family, and I can reflect back and respect the men, women, and children that are involved in making the sacrifices for us every day. Thank you. Oh wait, I gotta show you guys.